Well, good morning to all the timeouters this morning. As you can see, I've just stopped here at Modderfontein. The sun is coming out. Behind me is, if you can see into my boot there, it's my bicycle. I'm busy trying to put it together, and I've just paid 50 Rand for the great view that I'm going to have this morning for you. And so I thought I'll multitask, and I'll also bring my bike along and have a ride at the same time. And that's going to be my time out this morning. And as I was driving, I thought, well, today, Jack, you're the crew. You have to carry a tripod on your bicycle and balance it. You're the producer, the director, the assistant producer, the assistant director, the lighting guy, and also the presenter. You know, when I say it like that, I feel that doesn't sound right. I'm sure I'm breaking some laws there. I have to ask for an increase. But don't go away. I've got something very exciting this morning. I'm going to turn there and you can see there's the sun coming out. So don't go away. I've got something great to share with you. I'll catch you a little 2 kilometers from here. I have to ride, and then we'll chat again. I'll see you just now. Well, good morning to all the timeouters this morning, and I've arrived at my destination in one piece with my tripod. I didn't fall off my bicycle, and so this morning I just want to say a good morning to everyone and welcome, and also thank you for all the comments and for just the shares. It was probably the most comments I've ever had on Timeout, and it was because of each one of you, and I want to say thank you. I did read them all and laugh a little bit at you for a change. And so this morning, as I start, I just wanted to just say that I don't know about you, but you know, this pandemic, when it started, I was thinking, you know, it's not going to be long, and then it dragged on and on and on, and I didn't really realize how it was going to impact me or think it would impact me at all. And yet I find myself really impacted by the pandemic. I don't know about you, what your experience has been. Maybe you can share it with me. But I thought of one specific thing that is almost like changed. It's become like a culture. The pandemic has its own culture. And I was laughing at that this week because, you know, I used to always enjoy a good old sneeze. I don't know about you, and it just made me feel better. And sometimes it was quite violent sneeze. I don't know what causes sneezing, but you know, once you sneeze, you always feel better. And but since the pandemic, you know, things have changed. You know, before when I sneezed, people would turn around sharply, look at me, and smile, and you know, you even got God bless you. Now, you know, when you sneeze, people also look around and jerk their heads, but then they show you the sign of the cross, like you're a vampire coming to extract blood from them. And it's quite amusing now, so I keep my sneezes to myself. I'm having to take anti-sneeze medication to prevent me from offending people. So, you know, that's just one thing that I found weird in all this, is how my behavior has changed. And I don't know how you guys feel, but how your behavior has changed in certain things. But let me know. You know, it's interesting the angle we have from how we feel about having to make changes we don't always like. And so that brings me this morning to the subject I want to speak to you about. You know, I realized that this whole process, personally to me, has been quite frustrating, and I could, you know, and at times, you know, really just made me think about what's happening. And I don't know how you feel, but you know, then I was trying to work out, why do I feel so frustrated at times? And I think it's because this pandemic and everything that goes with it has forced us to change in ways that we don't want to change in. And I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just speaking about the process this morning. And that change has brought frustration because we don't know how to bring. Nobody really likes to change. I mean, even if we know it's for our good, it's still difficult. But when we're not sure if it's for our good and we're uncomfortable, it really becomes very difficult. And and sometimes we express that difficulty through frustration. And so I'd like to make some suggestions for us this morning in this talk of how we can change in a positive way and embrace things without all the frustration. And so I was thinking, but before I get there, I want to just say, you see I'm in my cycling attire because I am doubling up. I'm doing Timeout for you this morning, today is the beginning of the Jewish New Year, if I'm not wrong. And I was thinking, well, maybe we should all become Jewish and start the year all over again, because, when we started in the 1st of January, things didn't work out as we expected. So maybe we should become Jewish and start our new year today. But I'm doing some time out now afterwards on my bicycle. And I was wondering, what is the thing that pulls the trigger for you as a time-outer? What makes you as a person relax? What do you do on a Saturday or over the weekend that just unwinds you and fills your battery and really makes you positive? Is it gardening? Is it cooking, reading, maybe just doing nothing? Maybe drop me a comment and let me know what you do. There's no condemnation. I'm not going to judge you if you don't do anything. I'm just interested to hear, what do you do to pull the trigger in your life to take some time out? Because I think we all need it. Now, when it comes to change, nobody likes to change. And in sharing this, I want to help us this morning to discover something about ourselves that can help us. So I just want you to hang in there with me. And if you want to make a comment or a suggestion, just feel free to do that. It's not right or wrong. Nobody's going to judge you. Nobody's going to say something about it. I'm just going to read it, and the worst I can do is laugh at you or not. Just like you can laugh at me. Now, I remember years ago, and this is a true story. I always have to say that because it sounds so bad. A real true story when I was young, and the true story is actually that I was young many years ago. But also what I'm going to tell you, we used to play, I'm speaking now and I apologize to the ladies watching. As boys, we used to play a game called Stinger. Now, I don't know if any of the guys listening remember that game. Maybe it was just me as a weird child. Stinger was played with a tennis ball, and it wasn't the most intelligent game out, believe me, and I'm not advocating it. I'm just using it as an example this morning, so please forgive me. I'm not advocating violence or injuring people or even doing this with your grandchildren. I'm just telling you what I did as an example for what I want to share. And we used to play Stinger with a tennis ball, and it wasn't the most intelligent game, as I said, but then I thought, well, when you boys, intelligence is not right up there when it comes to having fun. It's more about what you can do. And we used to have the tennis ball. When you were on, you used to run, and you had to get a victim, and everybody would run away, and you had to find a guy and sting him as hard as you can. And hopefully not in a place that could injure him, but normally it didn't really count. If you stung him, you stung him. And you would run up as close as you can and throw him as hard as you can. And then when he got stung, he was on. And then he could take the ball and chase you or anybody else. Now, that made me think that, that's what the boys would do. Now I was thinking, what would a lady do, if they were playing Stingers? They would probably, instead of throwing the ball as hard as they can, they would probably, when they throw it at each other, they would lob it in the air, followed by a gasp saying, "Oops, I hope it's not too high or too hard." But the boys, they would run up and they would try and sting you as close distance as possible. Now, when you got stung, and this is my point, you would sometimes pull up your shirt or your pants and you would look at the mark, because it left a mark. If you're lucky, it's just a red mark on your skin. But if they really stung you, it would be a blue mark or a purple mark, and then you owned that mark. You owned it, and you were on. So my analogy this morning, the example I'm using is, if we want to change when we feel frustrated, we need to own it. And I'm just saying, sometimes when we own things that we don't like, it does come with pain. And sometimes it stings. Sometimes it leaves a red mark in our lives, and sometimes even a blue mark. But what I'm saying this morning is that if we don't own things, we can't change them. You have to own it to change it. When I own things, I empower myself to say, Jack, you can now make the changes to make a difference in this thing in your life. If you don't own it, you're always complaining, you're always living in denial, and yes, you can get away with it, but you can get away with it, but it never goes away because nothing changes. To change, Jack, you have to own that thing. And so I want to say, that in the Bible, there was a story about a short man. Don't think of me now. And his name was Zacchaeus. Zacchaeus was an interesting character, and he had heard about this interesting person, the Messiah called Jesus. And so he knew Jesus was coming, and he was a tax collector. Now, in the days of the story, a tax collector was a crook. To the Jewish people, they were crooks because they worked for the Romans, they were empowered by the Romans, they stole from the poor, they overcharged to make themselves rich. So a tax collector was really viewed in a very bad light. Almost like some of our politicians. Let's not go there this morning. And so Zacchaeus, he had an idea. He said he was short, he couldn't see because the crowd was there, so he got into a sycamore tree. And maybe you learned this in Sunday school, the song. He climbed up a sycamore tree. Now, a sycamore tree, for those who do or don't know, is a fig tree. And I know because I collect bonsais. And I actually bought a sycamore bonsai once because of the story. Unfortunately, the frost killed it. But a sycamore tree can grow to a big tree. So he climbed up this fig tree, the sycamore tree, and he wanted to change his outlook. And he wanted to change his view. Now, last week I spoke about our outlook, saying our outlook is how we view things, and our view is what we actually see. If you want to see something, you have to change your outlook, Jack. The way you see things. And when you change your outlook, your view also sometimes changes. So Zacchaeus, in this case, we spoke last week about going up the mountain, but in this case, he climbed up a tree. He found something practical to change his outlook and his view. He wanted to see Jesus. And, an interesting thing happened in the story quickly. When Jesus came to the bottom of this tree, he looked up and he saw Zacchaeus there. And he said, Zacchaeus, come down, because today I want to go to your house and I'm going to spend some time with you. Now, that was an amazing thing that happened in Zacchaeus' life. Now, you could say, well, one of the reasons Zacchaeus climbed up the tree was to change his outlook and his view. But another reason could also have been because, like all of us, Zacchaeus didn't like change. And, he also climbed up the tree because he wanted to hide a little bit from everybody else and who he was as a person. And, I think sometimes we like to hide from the things that we are or the person that we are. And sometimes we want a bit of camouflage because we're embarrassed about how we are. But, I want to encourage us, the only way to change is to own it. And so I don't know what was said at Zacchaeus' house, because the Bible doesn't say that. The story doesn't tell me. But I know something significant happened because of the outcome. When they left the house, the story says that Zacchaeus was so impressed about what he heard, is that he said he was going to give half his money to the poor. And he had a lot of money because tax collectors were wealthy. And he was going to pay back 4 times the amount if he had wrongfully taxed people, and he did. And that's a lot of people. He was going to give them back 4 times what he took from them. Now, isn't that amazing? Now, you have to say, I don't know what was said, but something changed in Zacchaeus' life. And I want to tell you, what happened to him is he owned that thing that was keeping him back from becoming the person he wanted to become. And because of that, there was changes. Zacchaeus owned it. And so this morning, you may be sitting there listening to me saying, Jack, I also get frustrated like you. I also want changes. But, don't be discouraged. Sometimes it does sting. Sometimes it comes with a bit of pain. Sometimes, Jack, it leaves a red mark. And sometimes it even leaves a blue mark. But let me just encourage you. Even if that happens, own it. Because when you own it, you can change it. And when you change it, everything changes. You've been watching Timeout. My name is Jack Vint, and I'll catch you next week.
You unravel me with a melody. You surround me